Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftaro Nabila Abdullah. In the last 48 hours, it's been a conversation surrounding hooliganism that has, over the years, found its way into the very fibre of Ghana football. This menace, which has dominated the country's most loved sport, finally claimed the life of an individual. It is one area many people actually say that the leadership of Ghana Football Association have not dealt with so much, and it is the reason why we currently find ourselves here. And yesterday, the Ghana Police Service announced that former Employment and Labour Relations Minister Ignatius Bafo-Ewua, he's been arrested alongside 2 other people, and they are currently assisting the police with investigations. As of this morning, we're made to understand that it is unclear if they were granted bail, because as of 7 p.m. last night, they were still with the police at the Bono Anahafo Regional Police Headquarters. So currently, as we speak, it's unclear whether they've been granted a bail. But let's take a look at a report that was put together by my colleague, Musbao, and then we'll come back and have a conversation. I'll be joined this morning by a FIFA and CAF security officer, as well as a colleague journalist, a football administrator, and a former player who has plied his trade in the Ghana Premier League before. But before that, let's take a listen to this report.
According to the police, the suspects who have since been arrested include owner of Nsoatreman FC and former MP and Minister of Employment and Labour Relations Ignatius Bafo-Ewua and Ajimandua Owusu, along with Treme Joseph. The 3 are currently in police custody, assisting with investigations. According to the police, a search of Ajimandua Owusu's residence led to the discovery of 2 dresses with suspected blood stains, an MP-23 pistol loaded with 15 rounds of ammunition. Meanwhile, to ensure a swift and comprehensive probe, a special team from the Criminal Investigation Department headquarters has been deployed to support the Bono Regional Police Command in its investigations. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has since personally reached out to the bereaved family and the leadership of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, offering condolences on behalf of the police service while assuring them of a thorough investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. The Ghana Football Association, on the other hand, has charged Nsoatreman for breach of its regulations and also placed an indefinite ban on the park. The association has further called for an emergency meeting with all chief executive officers of the Ghana Football Association slated for Thursday at the association's head office. Also, the association has suspended the match week 20 fixtures, which were slated to come off this weekend.
Let me go on the phone now and speak to Augustine Ahimfo, a former striker of Ghana's Black Stars, a former player, someone who, in fact, when he was on Prime Take recently, he took us through his journey to playing at the highest level. And it actually started here in Ghana. This very product sold him to the world. But his image currently has been muddied. It's so sordid to the extent that many people do not want to associate themselves with this brand. And Collins Atapoko, who is a colleague journalist, has also joined us. But Augustine Ahimfo, thank you very much for your time this morning. Sorry, I am denying you your work this very morning, but I appreciate that you've decided to speak to me on this. How did we get here? Because over the years, in fact, I remember listening to the former PLB chairman in the person of I've forgotten his name like that. He actually was telling me that when he went to this venue in Tamale, the Caladam Park, they were beaten to pulp. And this clearly suggests that over the years, hooliganism has been in Ghana football and is still there. Why do we continue to have hooliganism in the game? It appears Augustine Ahimfo has gone off the line. But let me bring Atapoko into this. Atapoko, you have covered many venues, especially in the Bono area. Why do we continue to have issues of hooliganism when there's a certain history that suggests that this menace has been with us for a very long time?
very much for having me, Muftau. Like, straight away, it's a hotbed for our football. And then it has most of the Premier League clubs currently per region. So it's not difficult finding these incidents there because of the frequency with which games are played in that region. But the education has actually not gone down well over the years. And it's one thing everybody involved in football in the region has failed to do. It is 3 points or nothing. At all costs, you must get it. And it's one of the very things that has fueled this kind of behavior over the years. Now, let's restrict it to Insuatreman themselves and look at something. They were charged in January when they played against Mediama SC. And just now, this has happened. So it's not like we've not actually heard about this or seen it before. Let's rule it to when they were in the same zone with RTU and Zone 1 was played all and had not been divided then. We had to plead with RTU players to plead with their fans to stop them from assaulting Insuatreman players when they came over to play against Biwa United because they had beaten players of RTU to pulp when they had come to play them in Insuatre. So it's not a first time, and it's certainly not going to be the last time. But the most important thing is that everybody involved in football in the region must take responsibility for this and then begin to work in such a manner to disabuse the minds of fans that is not 3 points at all costs. Let's spill blood to get what we want on a day.
Let me bring Nick into the conversation. Nick Owusu is a CAF and FIFA security expert. Nick, when we go to match venues, you lead in this area of ensuring that everyone who comes to the venue is safe. Why do we continue to have hooliganism in our stadia? Is it that the security we have in this country are not fit for purpose?
Yeah, thank you so much. I wouldn't say that they're not fit for purpose. I would rather say that there are certain steps that needs to be taken as a country, and then we are not taking those steps.
What are those steps?
This problem has been there globally in global football for a long time, and I think for over 30 years, FIFA and CAF had found a solution to this, and then they've implemented it. And as a result of those implementations, you hardly hear some of these incidents happening in recent times, as they frequently used to happen some years back. And that has to do with the training and deployment of safety and security coordinators for our matches. If you look at Ghana, our Premier League is the flagship product that we have as a country. And then as a product of the FA, on any given weekend, there are no more than 8 Premier League matches going on or 10 going on around the country. So there's a need to employ the same tactics that FIFA and CAF have been using to take care of this situation. If you typically have a safety and security coordinator on grounds who will usually go there 2-3 days before the match, this person would have intelligence on the sensitive nature of the match, would coordinate with the ground police officers. If the person looks at the environment and feels that there is a need for reinforcement, all these arrangements will be done. There will be escorts for the team that are coming. You're going to plan a safe passage for the team. You're going to ensure that the stadium, which is the infrastructure that the match will be played, would be in good shape. There will be buffer zones within the stadium. There will be safe zones within the stadium. You would ensure that there are no breaches and all that. And then in some instances, you would even engage the fans in a dialogue way before the match goes on. So if you take a decision not to carry out any of these activities, then that is a choice that we have made, and these choices have consequences.
And that is what is happening within our game? Is that what is
happening? Absolutely.
Okay, so Nick, just stay with me. I'm going to speak to a former player who has played in this competition. And in fact, the name I was trying to recall is Nanda Kronte Hini, Mr. Welbeck Ebrapia. He has told me a story of how he was attacked at the Caledon Park many years ago and even made to sit on the floor and watch Kotoko, was it Okoye United, play RTU at the Caledon Park. But we continue to have that. Augustine Ahemfo, you have played in this product for many, many years, and these stories continue to be with us. Why are we still here? What hasn't changed? What must we do?
You put me out of my early morning walk.
Yes, I apologize for that.
That's okay. I think that we as a people should begin to move away from this hooliganism, as you can call it, to move to the new realm of sports. We support with all our might, and so we tend to forget that it is just a game. We sometimes look at it as if it is a do and die affair. It is never a do and die affair. So as a people, I mean, we need to begin to move away from these attacks on opposing teams and what you can call it. What happened in Swatreman 2 days ago or so has finally brought this thing home for us to tackle it once and for all. I heard you say to your other guest about security and all. I believe that the GFA, which is running football now, should beef up their security sector a bit, together with the National Police Service that we know. You should have to work in tandem so that we forestall all these things happen. I believe that it should not happen. It shouldn't continue. Because when I was playing on the local scene, yes, there were some areas that we went and it was difficult even to enter the stadium. How many years down the line? More than 30 years down the line. We are still experiencing this. And this time, it's even worse. But if you look at the video, a team that is supposed to play another team, entering the stadium was even an issue. The question I'll pose to you is that, where was the match commissioners, the people who were supposed to commission the match, for the match to actually come into being? Where were they? Did they see those things happening? Was there a pre-match conference? What were the things that were discussed during the conference? So this thing has to be looked at critically. Why should I have an issue entering a stadium that officially I'm supposed to partake in a competition on that field? Why should I have issue entering that pitch?
And Nick was just talking about how FIFA and CAF often ensure that the security officers are on the ground way ahead of the game so that they can understand the mood of the people, what an atmosphere around the game is all about, so that they can also advise. And to him, that is not happening in our game. Clearly,
it is not happening. Mufta, look, the whole day, let's say on a Sunday, from the morning until the game, the time the game ends, the security should be up and doing. The security as well as the people who are supposed to commission the match, they are up and doing. They have to be there, make sure that exactly what you said was in place. How many police officers are in there? How many ambulance workers, whatever, are in the station in there? Over in Europe, you don't use security, you use stewards. They are the ones who are supposed to direct where you are supposed to sit and all. You hardly see police officers in the stadium, but they are around. They are positioned around. Unless something untoward happens, you will never see them. So when the police are there, taking strategic positions around the field, nobody, no fan, will be able to say that, look, we are doing A, B, C, D. Why should ordinary people be seen in the inner perimeter during matches? Why? Why should you see, let's say, a home team playing and supporters? They don't have any business being in the inner perimeter. Why do you see them there?
Okay, Mr. Ahemfo, hang on for me briefly. I'm going to bring back Nick on this. Nick, what security lapses might have led to this, and how do we fix those security lapses? And one thing too I want to understand is that if you saw the videos, you'd realize that the police officers were there. What sort of arrangement do venue security often have with the police, to the extent that when some of these things are happening, you only see the police taking part in trying to separate the two opposing teams or players from exchanging punches, as we saw, instead of arresting the people who have found their way into the inner perimeter?
All right, thank you very much. To deliver a very, very safe and secure match is a mixture of both the infrastructure that you are using and the personnel that are running the infrastructure. Clearly, from the videos that you've been playing, you could see some of the fans of the matches standing right behind the goalpost of either of the teams, and it's unacceptable. Under no circumstance should that happen in the most elite league in our country. It shouldn't happen. So that's the first breach. Now, whoever will be responsible for ensuring that the safety and security arrangements are done would have had briefing with the police, would have had proper deployments done. The whole essence is to create an atmosphere where all these incidents can be prevented from happening. Nobody who is accredited to be in the inner perimeter, which is usually zone 1 and zone 2,
yes,
should have access to the inner perimeter under any circumstance. Nobody. So for incidents to happen and you see people have access to the place, they go about doing things that they are not supposed, even including CEOs of teams and then chairmen of clubs. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. So it is clearly something that we are lacking as a country, and collectively we need to take responsibility and make sure that these things are correct. You ask yourself clearly, what sex regimes are put in place? You go to matches and then you find people bringing all manner of things into the stadium, things that can be used as a weapon should tensions rise high. And what sex regimes are put in place to ensure that these things don't find their way into the stadium. In fact, how would somebody be able to take a knife or a glass or anything that can be used as a weapon, even in and around the stadium? Because usually the search regimes are placed in some instances 2 or 3 or 4 miles before you enter the stadium. So if somebody can hurt somebody right around the stadium, it's unacceptable.
In fact, I recall in Qatar, when I was going inside the stadium and I was holding a microphone, and because the microphone had a stick, they asked me to take the microphone away because it had like something, those microphones.
And when were you asked to take it off? Were you asked to take it off in the stadium or way before you got to the stadium?
No, that was immediately I was gotten into the surroundings because they had barricaded outside of the stadium.
Exactly.
So
you could see that clearly there was somebody in charge. There was somebody taking responsibility for whoever is coming into the stadium and what the person is bringing into the stadium.
Atapoku, how do we curb this issue of hooliganism?
Well, Mustau, it's a collective responsibility as far as I'm concerned. And everybody involved should look at it this way. I'm happy with what Nick said about going there early. Mustau, you know what? The General Secretary of the Kotoko Supporters Union in the Buno-Ahafo region lost the dad, and the entire contingent were in Kumasi on Saturday for the funeral. At the funeral, they were discussing that, look, Insuachaman are desperate to remain, and Kotoko want to win the league. That game is going to be fireworks, come what may. But we categorize these games under category B or C without looking at the specific situation at hand. So I would urge the security department of the FA to take things up, further up, and then change some of the attitude and approach we take to these games. Secondly, I have an IMC member telling me that at the pre-match meeting, the number of police officers they were told would be at the stadium was not even up to a quarter to what they saw on the ground. Beyond that, the safest place in every stadium is supposed to be the pitch and the inner perimeter. Even there, we had intruders getting onto the pitch to attack players. So there was failure of security in the stands, on the pitch, and even outside the stadium. So it's quite worrying, the approach we take to some of these games. Kotoko, well, it should be a normal game, nothing would happen. But look at us. This is going to set us back. People wouldn't come to the stadium.
Exactly where I was heading to, yeah. Because, in fact, our cameras were actually in town to speak to some supporters who were all saying that it means that I cannot even guarantee that I can go to the stadium with my family and come back safe. And that's a major problem. But Atapoko, just stay with me. I'll wrap up pretty soon. But I want to get the thoughts of Augustine Ahemfo on this. As a footballer, when these things happen and they can be directed to you, psychologically, does it have any sort of impact on you? Unfortunately, Augustine Ahemfo is gone off. But Nick, let's just wrap up the conversation. Talk to me about the policies we should have or we should lay down just to ensure that this never happens again. Unfortunately, Nick too is off. Atapoko, are you with me?
I'm here with you, Mustafa.
Yeah, so I was just asking what sort of policies we should put down to ensure that our football is safe.
I still don't get why we entrust security for games in the hands of home teams. I don't know if it is because of the proximity to the ground and then security detail in the district or region. But a party who has interest cannot guarantee the safety of everybody. Nick was asking why, Ahemfo was asking where the match commissioner was when Kotoko was struggling to enter the pitch. What you when they were struggling to enter the stadium, what you saw, Muftar, was because Kotoko went with their bus and a 2M Express bus, which had other people in it. And then Inshaterman wouldn't allow the 2M Express bus to enter because it's the bus alone that was supposed to be there. That was the reason for the rancor at the beginning of all this. And it's lamentable how we put the security of the game in the hands of an interested party. The FA should liaise directly with government and create a security or safety group that the government will lead and then the FA would support. That will look at providing security that is verifiable and independent and not corrupted by one of the parties or have an interest in one of the parties' success on the day. Secondly, our police officers should be up and doing in the stadium. The way things are going, if we don't change our approach to handling larger crowd or match policing, we would continue to talk and talk and talk and nothing will change. It is not just 8 Premier League games a week. We have a lot of Division 1 league games that
and Division 2 matches, yeah.
A lot is happening. So if we could get a unit for sports policing and abreast them with the latest trends and events and how they would go about it, well equipped with the techniques and all that, we would be better off because we've been seeing these things.
Okay.
It's been happening.
Okay.
And Mustafa, we are only lucky it has happened now. This thing has been bothering on it. It's been threatening to happen, and now here we are. Look at the players on the screen. An intruder coming to attack them, and they have to defend themselves. On the pitch, our security for match day is a mess.
Quite unfortunate. Nick, there are people of the opinion that the game should have been suspended the moment it halted for about 30 minutes plus because tensions were high. If you were there, what would you have advised? And what advice would you give to the Ghana Football Association in terms of policies that we should put in place to ensure that this does not happen again? Please do this for me within 45 seconds, please. Hello, Nick. Are you with me? Please unmute. Please unmute for me.
Thank you. Your question again, please.
The question was this. The game was halted for about 30 minutes plus because tensions were high. People were pelting missiles onto the pitch. They were pelting others. In fact, Kwesi Appiah said that he was pelted with water and all that. There are those who said that the game should have been suspended the moment this happened. And so I want you to send an advice to the Ghana Football Association, the government of Ghana. in terms of what must be done when we find ourselves in similar situations where games are halted for such a longer period because of the tensions. And what are the policies that we should put in place to ensure that this does not happen again? Please do this for me within 45 seconds.
Okay. I think the first thing that we need to do, I don't think the game should have been halted. I'm sure the match commissioner and all others who were in charge would have had a crisis meeting within that period and taken a decision as to whether to continue with the match or not. So whatever decision they took, I mean, they were on grounds, they would have seen the prevailing circumstances and take those decisions. What I would say is that we need to start taking safety and security at match venues very, very serious in this country. It's an expensive venture. FIFA and CAF spent a lot of money in this sector, but the question is that there is no amount of money higher than a human life. So irrespective of the cost, we need to take this thing seriously. And as I've indicated, it's a mix between infrastructure and personnel. So we have to ensure that the stadiums that we are approving to host our Premier Leagues are fit for purpose. I mean, there are some stadiums that you go and you ask yourself, even as a journalist, you ask yourself, how did this stadium pass to host the Premier League? Yeah. And you guys talk about this all the time. So yes, we need to make a decision as a country whether we want to go forward and become like the Moroccans, the South Africans, the Egyptians, the Algerians. We need to take that decision. And when we take that decision, standards should be enforced and adhered to strictly, irrespective of whoever you are. If we feel that it's only 4 stadiums that are fit for purpose, let's rotate all the matches around those places, so that even it will be good for coverage, it will be good for your cameras, and people will feel safer going to the stadium. Because when people don't go to the stadium, these are the consequences. It affects gate proceeds, it affects sponsorship, it affects the whole league. So we need to take this seriously as a country and take steps to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Okay,
Nick, thank you very much. Nick is a CAF and FIFA security expert, and Collins Atapoko is a colleague journalist. He's with Sumpa FM in Kumasi, and also Augustine Ahimfo, he's a former player. He was striker of the Black Stars. And unfortunately, Kujo Fiano, who is a former chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association, could not join us. But hopefully, in our subsequent conversations, we'll be able to have him. We appreciate your time here with us on AM Sports. Thank you very much. Head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories.